chair recognizes Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My amendment is specific to the school aid portion of the school bus bill. And what my amendment does is it restores the $100 million of at-risk funding as a separate categorical. In the governor's recommendation, he felt it was important to make an additional investment in kids who are living lives in poverty. And I think it's important that this at-risk funding remain just for that, to be targeted to these students and not rolled up into the foundation allowance. When you look at the increase in the foundation allowance in this budget, it seems like a great number. But $100 million of that $294 million is this at-risk funding. And when you roll that up, you dilute the effectiveness of this money being targeted to the students that need it the most. You know, research tells us it costs more to educate students in poverty. And this is not just in urban districts, but in many rural districts across our state. This money should be used specifically to help these students, and it should be used as it was intended, and I ask for your support.
Thank you, Representative Roberts. The question before the House is the adoption of the amendment. The clerk will open the board. The amendment is not adopted. There are further amendments. The clerk will read.
Representative Sarah Roberts offers a series of 2 amendments identified as Amendment 1B.
The chair recognizes Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment is another example of using precious school aid dollars where they are needed most. And what this amendment does is it cuts the foundation allowance for cyber schools by 50%. Cyber schools do not have the same costs as our traditional brick and mortar schools. In fact, in this budget, some of our traditional brick and mortar schools, which have buildings and buses and a variety of other things that they have to pay for, some of them will only get a net increase of $25 per student, while some cyber schools who do not have these types of costs will get the maximum net increase of $299. So you have schools that have higher costs to operate, and they're getting the least amount at $25 million, and you have schools that cost the least to operate that are getting the highest amount. To me, this just does not make budgetary sense. Now, of course, there are schools that are in the middle and throughout the spectrum of that net increase. But this budget doesn't fund third grade reading initiatives, right? And by cutting cyber school foundation allowance by 50%, we generate about $38 million. We should be talking about how can we spend that $38 million? Well, we could fund third grade reading, which is going to cost roughly $25 million. We could use it to give a real increase in the foundation allowance where our schools are getting more than just $25 per student. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I would ask for support for the amendment.
Thank you, Representative Roberts. The question before the House is the adoption of the amendment. The clerk will open the board. The amendment is not adopted.